Welcome to my spray booth, everyone. I'm in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, Jewitt Guitars. My name is Jeff Jewitt. If I need no introduction, then I won't tell you anything about myself other than I've been, well, I'll tell you a little bit of my history. I'll just start it out with that way because a lot of people think.
Before you keep going, Jeff, there we go. I just wanted to make sure that we could see you.
Yep,
Yep.
we're good.
Okay, we good? Okay. Later. Okay, I don't want to join audio. It keeps telling me to do that. Anyways, a little bit of history. When I decided to start my own business, I thought I could make it as a luthier, but I found out really quickly, this was back in the late 80s. I found out really quickly it's not a very good way to make a living. So I found out that I could repair a chair and charge about 3 times as much as I could charge for like a neck reset. So I decided to start repairing furniture, and that was a very good business for me. So a lot of my background in finishing and touch-up comes out of the Mohawk mobile touch-up kind of way of doing things that was, has been around forever. For those of you that don't know, Mohawk is a big supplier of finishes and whatnot, but mostly what they're known for primarily is the touch-up stuff. Anyways, so I had to work in people's homes, usually with them watching me the whole time while I was touching up their really expensive furniture and stuff like that. And you learn very quickly that there's a lot of tricks that you can do, or things that you can do. But basically, I'm completely self-taught. A guy came out from Mohawk, showed me how to do like a blend all repair or something like that, and that was it. And then it was mostly like trial by fire. I've found that a lot of the techniques I use on furniture and whatnot can be equated to guitar. And while I don't do guitar repair per se, I do find that I have to do a lot of touch-up during the finishing process for my guitars because I'm in the boutique kind of crowd, so meaning that they're rather expensive guitars. So, I mean, the finish just has to be flawless. There just can't be any problems with them. So I've used a lot of these techniques, and I found out that usually when I teach classes and things like that, a lot of people are mystified as to how to, repair color or to do something during the finishing process. So that's what I'm going to kind of talk about and show today. The techniques that I do, and mostly though the materials and tools that I use. Before I kind of get into things, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about just some touch-up basics because nobody ever told me anything about doing touch-ups, so I had to kind of learn it myself. But I thought that I would just kind of tell you there's some basic rules that are helpful if you're new to this, so that you don't get yourself into or go down a rabbit hole with touch-up, because that's really easy to do. Anyways, so I'm just going to kind of focus on this white paper I have in the shop here. When you're doing repairs to wood, particularly something that's already finished, just remember that whatever your repair area is, whether it be a gouge, split, missing wood or whatever, that's underneath all sorts of things like stains might be applied to the wood, then a toner, an aerosol toner might be over it, and then finally clear coats on top of that. So you have to think when you're doing touch-up in terms of recreating a good touch-up in terms of recreating in layers. And what I mean by that is, rather than going in, and seeing like, a big blemish in the wood or something like that, and going in with a touch-up and just trying to make it all go away in one fell swoop is usually not going to work. What you have to do is you have to kind of work from light to dark and in stages. And generally, what I do when I'm doing a touch-up to wood or something like that is I start from the bottom and work my way up in terms of the touch-up. So what I mean by that is, like, one of the first things I'll do, let's just say you have I'm drawing grain in the wood. And say you've got like, you know, like a dent or something like that. Maybe the wood is cracked. Let's say maybe the side was cracked and split and it's gone cross grain, which is a nasty, nasty repair. One of the first things I generally try to do is just draw your grain back in. You'd be surprised at how much you can make things go away or at least mitigate them just by connecting the grain lines if they're off. Just remember that from a psychological point, the way that our brains are wired is that we tend to ignore symmetrical things, but we're very much drawn to asymmetrical things or things that aren't symmetrical. And what I mean by that is like when you're following grain lines, if there's a break in it anywhere, you're going to really key in on that. If we look at the iPhone camera that I have hooked up here, which is this one right here. I
Jeff, do you want
have
both or just one?
Yeah, if you just show my finger, I'm pointing to it. Okay. Now, just so you know, normally I don't make rookie craftsmanship mistakes like this. I purposely did a sloppy purfling line just so that I would have a good prop. Everybody know that? Because if you look at the other side, it's totally flawless. So I did this on purpose. Anyways, if you can see it right here, your eye is really drawn to that because there's a little break in the black, white, black purfling. Can everybody see that?
Actually, Jeff, can you just tilt the camera in just a little bit?
I can try and move a little bit closer.
Yeah, just once we start working on it, we can go. Kind of move your camera to the right just a little bit, and then down just there we go. You can point to it now. We can see it.
Okay, so let me get something that points better. And then a Sharpie. Okay, but can everybody see that?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay, so basically what that is, you know, it's where the seam of the purfling should be. And when I do that, I'm going to go back to the blackboard here. What I usually do with my purfling is I miter it this way on one end, and then I come back on the other end and miter it this way. Usually I get a better seam right there, but this time I didn't. So anyways, but at least to my eye, I mean, that sticks out like a sore thumb. And to me, that's totally unacceptable on a guitar. So I'll show you how I fix that little purfling break, because that's kind of a challenging one because it's so small and tiny. But that's what I mean by the eye being drawn towards, you know, breaks or something in the symmetry. Same thing with grain. If you have something in the, you know, in the top that you can basically just start really by drawing the grain back in. Now, while I'm on the subject of this, I'm just going to say this. Doing repair work by adding color to spruce tops is usually a fool's errand. It is very, very difficult to do a spruce top repair because typically, and the reason for that is you have to use white. And white is a very dangerous material to use because it will go, when you look at it at one angle, it will appear to be correct. And then you go and switch your angle over the other side and it sticks out like a sore thumb. So generally, unless it's just really, really bad, I generally try not to do touch-ups on the main part of it. Now, if it's close to an edge here, or if it's maybe in around the soundboard or the sound hole or something like that, you might be able to get away with it a little bit better. But if it's right in the center, like things like, you know, knots and resin deposits and things like that show up as you sand a top, usually I avoid. So very quickly, what I want to do is I'm going to kind of switch things around here. I want to show you the touch-up materials that I use. All right.
Which camera would you like for that, Jeff?
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna leave this one up here because we seem to have gotten it just perfect. So I'm gonna leave that there. We're gonna go to the laptop camera.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna get down here so that you can kind of see what I'm doing here. As I said, I kind of grew up with the Mohawk touch-up school where we use the Blendall pigments, these things. You can get these in just every imaginable color, but you really don't need every imaginable color. The colors that I use the most, you can get these fishing tackle boxes, which I find are really handy to store these things, and I just keep this in the booth. This is a really old one. We actually used to make this touch-up kit. I think, Doug, do you still have yours?
Oh, yeah, I still got mine for sure.
Yeah.
So
What-
is,
Wait a second. Did you get yours from Jeff, Doug?
I was just gonna ask him, did I buy, because I bought mine like 35 years ago, 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
we used
Did
to make the kits for StuMac.
Yeah, it was probably from Joe.
Oh, wow, I
Yeah.
probably got
So,
one from you.
yeah, those were my kits. That was the very first thing I ever wholesaled.
I still love that thing. I still use it.
I know, they were mad when I discontinued it, but it was a pain in the butt to make these things because we had to take a couple scoops of powder and put it in a little plastic pouch and then stick it in the tree. It was just manually very, very
The
intensive.
thing I loved about that was that it was a wonderful combination of both dyes and pigments.
Yes, but basically you can do the same thing just by getting a handful of transient colors.
Mm-hmm.
I really only use about 4 of these. The
Right.
colors I use are like a reddish brown. I use honey amber, a medium brown, and then tobacco brown, and maybe black. And those are about the only ones I ever use. But generally, I use both dyes and pigments depending on what it is that I'm doing, and I'll
Right.
try and show you or tell you and give you some guidance as to what material you should do, whether it be a pigment based to do your touch up or whether it be dye based.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, these powders, you can get the Blendall powders. You don't need to get every single one. I think there's like probably 150 different colors. But basically, you just need white. You need raw sienna, which is kind of a mustard color. A green is helpful. Some sort of red is helpful. Orange is helpful. And then I get the earth colors. Does everybody know what those are? Those are things with names like umber and sienna and ochre.
Can you speak about those naming the nomenclatures behind that? I find, especially in the Mohawk world, their naming conventions to be somewhat confusing.
Well, they're confusing because, well, first of all, let me just go backwards. I'm formally trained in studio arts, and in the art world, when you say like the color burnt umber to somebody, every artist in the world knows what that color is in their head. That's an established, almost like what we call a universal color. We call those generically the earth colors because they're natural pigments that are just mined out right of the earth's crust. And umber comes from the Latin ombra, which means shadow. And there's also a region in Italy called Umbria, which is where some of that stuff is mined. Raw umber is this color here. It's sort of like a cool brown. And if you calcine it or heat it to really high temperature, you call it burnt umber, which transitions it to this color here, which is more of a chocolatey brown. These two browns are the only two browns I use. They're really virtually the only two browns I use. Now, I do use another one, which is called raw sienna, which is a kind of a mustard or yellow ochre color. That's very helpful, particularly when you're doing the touch-up that we're going to do, where you need to just like kill the whiteness of titanium white. Other useful colors, your primaries are also good. Like I would have a red, I would have a green, and I would have a black. That's really all that you need. When I used to teach touch-up basics of color theory, what I always used to tell students is like, when you're looking at a color, any color, it's either red, or it's on the red side, or it's on the green side. It's either red, or it's kind of green. And red and green are what we call complementary colors. If you take red and mix it with green, in the middle, it makes brown. And with that theory in mind, I mean, you can solve a lot of problems. If something is too red, for instance, you're doing a sunburst or something like that, or you did the perfect touch up, okay? And you start to clear coat it, and all of a sudden you start getting red. And I'm sure that's happened to everybody. I know it's happened to Ian because we talked a lot. But what you need to do to kill the red is you add a little bit of green to it, or green over it, and that will kill the red and neutralize it and push it back more towards a neutral brown. Does that make sense? I mean, it's just kind of, in a nutshell, this is something that's a lot easier to teach in person, but it does get a little bit complicated, but it is basic color theory, and you can research that. It's just taught on the color wheel, which is, everybody knows that red, blue, and red, blue, and yellow are your three primary colors. And when you mix those, you can get just about any other color imaginable. But that gets a little bit technical, because that's what we call additive color theory. And then there's also subtractive color theory, or no, that's subtractive color theory. Additive color theory is something different. That's red, green, and blue, like your television, the old TV tubes. I'm getting ahead of myself. I tend to do that. Anyways, you'll need some brushes. And brushes are typically numbered in the touch-up world from 0 on up to like 6. So a 0 brush is this, very fine tip. And then a number 6 brush would be something like this. And in between that, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all that. All those brushes are very handy to have. I just have a coffee cup full of all sorts of them. The problem with touch-up brushes is the bristles start to splay a little bit. So at a certain point, you just can't do any fine work with them. I'll show you a way to kind of get around that as I get towards the end. Dyes, as we mentioned, transients are very handy to have because they're liquid concentrates. You can buy them in the color tone name or the transient name. I manufacture both right here. In fact, if you look behind me, well, you can't see it, but we'll give you a tour later on of the transient facility. You need some medium to mix it with. I just use usually a 1 or a 1.5 pound cup of de-waxed shellac, which is what this stuff is. You can use this stuff if you want. Ian, I think you like this stuff, right?
Yeah, I do like that stuff. I know it's heresy for the shellac mixers. You don't.
I don't like it. It dries too fast because it's got a lot of acetone in it, which is kind of a good thing. But I don't like it just because it dries too fast. And by the time I'm dipping my brush and getting the color that I want and going over to find out what I have to do, the brush is dry. So I just use a 1.5 pound cut de-waxed shellac. Super blonde.
Hold on a second.
I've got this seal coat from Zinsser.
That's fine.
Is that fine?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, seal coat's fine too. And that's usually my Home Depot stopped carrying it. You can special order it, I think, but you have to get a case of it. It's seal coat's just fine. It's basically pre-mixed like a de-waxed blonde shellac. The other thing that I use, which I absolutely love,
Jeff, can I go back to the medium stuff? A lot of guys would maybe think, hey, why aren't we, we're using lacquer on our guitars. Why wouldn't why wouldn't you want to use a lacquer as a medium to touch up in? Can you speak to that a little bit?
The reason I don't like doing that is because you can remove shellac if you don't like your touch up. You can just wipe it very gingerly with a little bit of denatured alcohol, or maybe a little bit of denatured alcohol and naphtha to kind of cut the attack, if you will, of the denatured alcohol. The problem with denatured alcohol, just so you know, the stuff that you buy in the Home Depot these days, is not the stuff that they sold 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. It's about half methyl alcohol. And if you notice, they don't even call it a shellac thinner anymore. That's how they can sell it now. It's a long story. It's basically a way of getting around the VOC legislation. If you want to use lacquer on lacquer, you can, if you're good with that. But I find that using shellac is a universal medium that doesn't interfere with any coating that I've ever put over it. And the finish that I use these days is urethane. And I use shellac on it all the time just to do little touch-ups and put more urethane on it. It's fine. Lacquer's fine. Water-based is fine. If you're using varnish for whatever reason, that's fine too. But basically, the shellac dries quickly enough so that it stays put, so that if you have to come back and wipe it or fuss with it or do anything like that, you're not going to remove it all. Does that kind of answer it?
Yep, 100%.
Okay. All right. The other thing that I really like, and I fell in love with these. God, I don't know how I got onto these. I think Dan Erlewine got me onto these after he visited Santa Cruz Guitar. But these are called Micron pens. And these are archival pigment colors. And what that means is that they've been tested for permanency. So they're pretty light fast. But what I love about them is that you can get them in different width tips that are extremely small. So if for painting in grain lines, there's just absolutely nothing better. And you can get them in just virtually any color and a lot of different widths. The ones that I use the most, I use a brown and I use a black. I'll use a black on the touch-up that we're using today. You can get sets of them that have a lot of different colors in them. I just don't use these colors that much, just because a lot of times when you're touching up guitars, you're not really touching up color. But if you're doing sunburst or something like that, they do have a couple in here. This one right here is good for sunburst. It's kind of like an intermediate sunburst color. You can also use, to some extent, Sharpies if you can get a fine point on it. The Sharpie I find is a really good black. These pens, the touch-up pens or the touch-up ones that you see sold by StuMac and other places, these are like felt tip. These are just too big to do fine work with. If you have to draw a really, thick line, then that's one thing. But I really very rarely use it. But
Yes.
you can get it on Amazon. If you get yourself a brown one and a black one, you'll cover a lot of bases with that.
Jeff, can on the Micron pens, like sometimes I've had problems getting the ink to stay put when I shoot lacquer over it. Do you have any issue with that? Like sometimes when you shoot lacquer over it, do you ever find it tries to flow out? No? Okay.
No, but if that were the case, I would probably dust on a few light coats of lacquer first to kind of lock it down.
Okay.
And then, maybe come back, but I've never really had it float on me. What I like about it is that you can, I'm gonna just draw on this cardboard here, but you can, draw a really thin line and then you can kind of rub it with your finger and just kind of smooth it a little bit out to make it look less harsh or
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. I'll try and demonstrate that when I go do this touch up here. Where are we on time? Okay, so about halfway through. Why don't we jump in and do a couple of touch ups? The first one I'm going to do is this really tricky one that's on the binding. While I'm doing this, if you want to watch a YouTube video of me doing this on my YouTube channel, which is Jeff Jewitt, I think, is the name of the YouTube channel. I'll send Ian a link. I have 2 videos up there that were done in my class that I taught with Robbie O'Brien this summer that were really, really, really kind of hard to do touch-ups, but I managed to pull them off. And you talk about live theater under the gun, that was a little bit scary. One of them was really bad. But so let's just jump in and try and get this thing squared away. Now, what I've got here, I'm going to switch cameras. I'm just going to put this back over here so you can see me better.
Which camera do you want? Okay.
Well, what I'm going to be, let's go to the guitar. Yeah, let's just go to this one first, and then I'll tell you when you want to switch to the other one.
Okay.
I'm going to have to bring my stuff over here. Okay. Let me get a swig of coffee. All right, the other thing you need, aside from brushes, is I just use Dixie cups just to mix the color in. That's pretty much it. Okay, let's switch cameras, Ian.
Yep. Well, I lost all this. Here we go. We're good.
Okay, so everybody can see the touch up that we have to do is right there. Okay, so what I do to prepare for this is I've got a sealer coat of urethane finish on here. It's been sanded, but you need to be able to kind of preview a sanded finish color wise is not going to look the same as it's going to look with color on or with finish on it. So typically what I do is I just have this spray gun. I'm going to move this camera out of the way. I just have my little touch-up gun. It's always got like about it's a mix of lacquer that's 1 part lacquer to like 1 part thinner to maybe 2 parts thinner. It's not important, you know, how much thinner you put in here. But what I do is,
Jeff, by lacquer, do you mean the urethane that you're using, or lacquer?
no,
lacquer?
I'm using just nitrocellulose lacquer. It's
Okay.
basically all it is. It's just the Stumac stuff, and I'll try not to mess up my camera, but I'll just like. Can everybody see what I'm doing?
Yep.
Now, do you see how the color deepens on the binding? That's what I want to do. I'm previewing what color I need to do. And it also gives me a little bit of a smoother surface to do my touch up on than working on sanded wood. Then what I'll do is I'll just take my spray gun and don't pull the trigger all the way. And I can dry that lacquer really quickly that way.
Oh, that's a good move. Can we bring that camera in tight again?
Yeah, let me get in tight.
You might be able to pinch and zoom that to get closer rather than getting
We
it.
tried that.
We tried it. I think he
Oh,
has to
wait,
be-
I see zoom.
you can try.
No,
It might just say Zoom because that's the name of the program.
okay.
Um,
Oh, no, okay, all right, yeah, it's the name of the product. Duh. No, it doesn't work. No, we tried that. Anyways, I'll try and, but anyways, you can see what I'm trying to do here. It's a
Yep.
nice break in here. But see, this is dry to the touch now. So I'm good to go. I'm gonna start with my number 0 brush. And maybe we should switch cameras, Ian, for the time being.
Yep. Oh my God.
Okay. I have to keep punching mine. Okay, so I've got shellac, 1.5 pound cut. I got my Dixie cups. Just pour a little bit in there. It's, you know, I don't want to, whoop, don't pour it all out. But anyways, I got maybe like, you know, just like a quarter of a thimbleful in there, not much. But the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of, can you see those bristles? They're not behaving very well. So I want to see if I can't kind of roll them to get a little bit finer point on there. And they're really not behaving. So this brush might be cooked, but I'll just try and work with it. Because I don't see that I have another one here. There's one, might be a little bit better. Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit better. But you can see what I'm doing. I'm just rolling the bristles between my fingers to just kind of make a finer point on it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to touch up the white. It's a black, white, black purfling. I'm going to touch up the white first, and I'm going to in paint a little bit of white. Now, white in purfling and binding is not pure white. It's always white with a little bit of yellow in it. So what I'll do is I'll take a brush, I'll dip it in my white. I know that's probably hard to see.
Yeah, the cup's white, but
Okay,
so you got the white powder in there, and
I've just got the white powder in here.
you're mixing to the edge of the cup.
Yeah.
Actually, might be better off showing that in the other camera. 'Cause
You want to
Yeah,
do that? on
yeah,
the-
we'll do that. But basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some white in here. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of a product called raw umber. No, raw sienna, excuse me.
And you're
Okay, let's go back to the other camera.
Okay. And you're mixing those on the side of the cup, kind of.
Yep, yep, can you see it?
Yep.
There's the raw sienna. And there's the white. So I'm just kind of mixing it here. I'm making what's called an off-white. Right, Doug?
You betcha. If you come back into the camera field, we'll be able to see it better.
Yep,
That's a perfect angle, yeah.
Just don't
okay.
drop that shellac on your project.
Okay. I'm gonna try and pull this off. This is a very tough angle to work with. So what I'm gonna try to do is I gotta go off to the side here.
Yeah, I think that's fine. If you can go off to the side and bring it in, I think that's probably
All
even
right.
better angle than it was before.
Now I'm just touching.
Come on, paint.
Bingo. Okay. Can everybody see that? What I just did?
Yep.
So I just basically filled in that little gap. I'm gonna let it dry. And I'm gonna do that with my spray gun.
Jeff, did you do anything prep wise to make yourself like maybe a little divot to put that in, or?
Well, you want it, yes. I'm glad you brought that. There was a little divot in there, so I put some glue boost in there and sanded it flat because it
Okay.
has to be, you can't have a little divot in there.
No divot.
If you have a little divot in there, you're just gonna be touching up a hole and that's pointless. So you can see it looks a little bit better, but it's still not quite there. So this is where I will then take my X-Acto knife and I'll scrape away any of the white that shouldn't be there. And because I'm right-handed, I'm gonna have to try and do this.
Jeff, you can move the camera out just a little bit.
Okay.
I know it's hard. I've
Well,
struggled
yeah,
too.
yeah, this just is just an odd angle. Okay, I'm gonna try to, okay, yeah, I'll work this way.
Is that, so you've got like a rosewood binding on the exterior?
Yeah, it's black, white, black, and then rosewood on the outside. The
Oh, okay.
rosewood's fine.
Is that a plastic perf or a fiber?
Fiber.
Oh, that's looking
Right.
nice.
So all I'm doing there is I'm just kind of removing a little bit of the white. Now, this is where these micron pens really shine. All right, I will try to do this.
If you need to move the camera and just, do it and then come back and show us what you've done, I think we can do that too, if you're struggling.
Okay, well, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come out and show you what I'm gonna be doing. Okay, all right. So what you do is you just take your finger and use it as a guide. And then I'll come up and then I'll just draw that black purfling in. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna pull the camera back and then actually do it, and hopefully you can see me do it.
Does this
Okay,
ever
there's
make you
one.
want to just,
You see
Is
what I
this
did with my finger?
yep. How critical would you say the optimizers are for this procedure?
Very critical.
Mission
I
critical.
don't care how good your eyes are. Yeah, this is like Optifizer 101. I came back with the white again. And
Well, it's looking pretty good.
well, generally, if you go back and try to find out where you were working and it takes you a second or two to find out the spot, you're done.
That's good enough.
That's one of the
Yeah.
rules. That's a Jewitt rule of touch up, is when you just momentarily lose your place, you
Yeah.
are done.
You're done.
Okay. So basically, a really fine touch up like that is not that hard to do. And when I'm looking at this, I mean, that's totally fine. I'm not going to worry too much about any breaks in the, because there aren't any in the rosewood. There is another little tiny little spot on the back here. I'll show you.
Jeff, have you ever messed around with like fine line tape? Do you think,
Yes.
I know fine line tape, like, would you be worried about like surface tension issues and it kind of bunching up on the tape edge, or?
I use 3M precision masking tape.
Do you have
Does everybody know what that is?
I don't. Do you got a roll of it
Yes.
lurking about there?
Yeah, I do. Hang on.
I like the sound of precision tape.
Is that the green stuff?
I think it might be purple. The green stuff's good too, though.
Is the green stuff 3M as well?
I think so. I think the purple stuff might actually just be the modern the modern
And the
green
green
stuff.
stuff is 3M as well.
Thank you.
Okay,
Looks like
let's
this.
switch to the other camera.
Yep. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Don't do anything cool till I switch. Okay, you cleared for takeoff.
Okay, masking tape is about 5 to 6 mil thick. This stuff is 2 to 3 mil thick.
Ah,
It's also somewhat transparent. So if you need to mask off an area because you're not quite sure of the steadiness of your hand, this stuff is just a godsend.
does that edge lock like is it like will lacquer creep underneath of
Nope.
it? Is it okay?
Nope, nope. Now switch to the other camera.
Okay. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Oh man, that's cool that it's transparent.
Yep.
That's
So-
that's upscale.
That's what I mean about stuff drying too quickly. Cut.
Yeah. Your customer's gonna wonder what that's for, but you know, let them think about it.
Well, like I say, you know, now this is a urethane finish, so anything I
Oh
do,
yeah.
I just take a little bit of alcohol. That just comes right off. That's the reason I like shellac. There is a little bit of a something down here I noticed. Let me see if I can't get up here.
You got a miter on the
Yeah,
now this is that's fiber too. Is this the same fiber? Or is this a different fiber?
no, this is actually maple. This is maple with black fiber.
Okay.
But can everybody see, on the top left here? It's sort of a sloppy,
Yep.
okay, so we're gonna try and fix that. Okay, I'm gonna have to move the camera kind of a little bit out of the way.
Of course, Zoom has decided that your knuckle is the star of the show. Oh, that looks good.
Okay.
That padding, it seems like it does something very interesting to it. Like
That's what I learned from Mohawk, is when you use the blend all powders, you kind of pat it on with your finger. Now,
What's it-
if you look over to the, just adjacent to that, there's a little bit,
Larry Athas says that you can get that tape from TJ Thompson's website for anybody interested.
yeah.
Although
right.
probably also from 3M, but
I just get it from Amazon. I don't know. I'm sure TJ doesn't charge a lot, but can you see, like, just to the right of my finger,
yeah.
there's just a little anomaly there in the rosewood.
Mhm.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my brown pen.
You got any how are you keeping your your fiber clean when you're gluing rosewood binding to it? Is that challenging?
How do I keep my what?
Your fiber perf, like, isn't it challenging to get rosewood binding on there without it getting into your nice fiber perf there?
It depends on what you wipe it with. Usually, with real rosewood, you want to avoid every solvent but naphtha.
Okay.
Because even water will pull the oils and the color out of it. It's the extractives in the rosewood.
Mhm.
Now, what happens here sometimes, if you do a really good touch-up, you just change a nice miter joint to a box or to a butt joint.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is I'll come in with my X-Acto knife. I'm going to do this a little bit off camera so I can get the right angle. But what I'll do is then I'll just take my
Yeah.
X-Acto and draw a fake miter in there.
Fake cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically that's how I can get away with, cleaning up, some of my sloppy miters. I must say, I'm not as skilled a miterer as a lot of people are.
It's
I'm
tough
not
stuff.
known, but I can touch up stuff that a lot of people just, they freak out, when they see me do this stuff. I didn't see anything else on this guitar. This looks pretty good, but I did see something on the neck. So I will try to switch the camera over and show you what I'm talking about here.
You want a different camera?
No. Stay put. I just gotta move some. It is a fairly large spray booth, but there's a lot in here at the moment. Okay.
Ian, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sure.
Jeff, have you ever used like any other like white paint pens under lacquer? I know you're using the blend all white with shellac, but
Yeah.
something similar to a Micron, but that's white.
No, you can't get white pens in anything of like a fine tip. The reason for that is the white pigment particle is a pretty big size, and it just won't go through those felt tips or whatever they have there. So I've looked for white pens. They just don't make them. They do make them, but they're very large. They're like almost, like maybe like a 1/16 of an inch wide, and so you just can't do any good work with it. You have to use some sort of a brush like I just did. And even then, when you're in painting, just like what I showed you, it's very difficult to get a very fine line. So you usually have to lay down some white and then scrape off around it with an X-Acto.
Yeah, and you're using the blend all white powder there for that?
Yeah, it's titanium white, just white.
Okay. Thanks.
Well,
Jeff,
yeah,
I
they
had a
call it
question
white,
too.
but it's I usually go by the names of the pigments. It's titanium white. What I'm going to show you now, I'm going to try and let me
Hold up.
change the angle.
David Trustman, was that you? Did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a quick question for you, Jeff.
Sure.
If you're putting the tints into shellac and you're going over with it with shellac afterwards, how would you apply that so you don't run the white?
Well, I don't, I use a spray gun to lock that in. So the touch up that I just did, I'll spray lacquer over that to seal it.
So could you spray shellac over it to seal it so it won't run?
Sure. Very lightly. Yeah. If you want to use shellac. Yeah. Yeah. Or whatever finish you can use. In my case, I would just go right to urethane. Really. It works fine. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of like an odd thing that happened. I just noticed this when I was sanding it. This is a Cocobolo heel cap. And do you see that different color right there where my finger's pointing?
Yeah.
Anybody want to take a guess as to what that is?
Jeff already told me, so I won't be guessing. So Dave Stouty, you've got to guess. Dave, you worked in a finish department before.
All right, well, nobody seems to be taking the bait.
Hold
What I
on a
did
second. Hold on a
was-
second. Show it to Dave Stouty again. He's looking. What's going on with that heel cap, David?
It's Cocobolo, but it's got this kind of weird, like lighter color over there. It's not natural part of the, well, it is, but it isn't. Well, I'll answer the question. Basically, I sanded through the oxidation layer of the Cocobolo. Cocobolo is that real nice, like kind of like orangey red when you first mill it, and then it turns brown. This is the oxidative later. So as I was sanding the heel cap, I sanded through the oxidation into this red here. And that doesn't work, okay? So I have to get rid of that orangey red stuff. So basically what I'm gonna do with this one, this is gonna be a little bit trickier to do. Let me get the camera in as closely as I can. Once again, what I will do is take my spray gun and now, do you see how that changed the color? So now I can see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Everybody see that? So basically it shows me I just have to clean up those edges. So now what I'm doing is I'm drying a lacquer. And when the glossiness of it disappears, it's dry. So that lacquer's dry. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna take a little bit of a bigger I'm gonna take my shellac. Now for this, I think what I wanna do is I wanna start with like a brown color. This one right here. That's called burnt umber. Now, if you buy the Blendall powder, I don't know if they sell as burnt umber, but Mr. Mohawk at one time didn't like the fact that burnt umber was not a perfect brown. So what he does is Mohawk takes burnt umber and they mix a little bit of green with it. Remember what I told you? And that makes the color that they call perfect brown. A little bit of history there for you.
Jeff, my instinct on that is the perfect brown is they're trying to not have any red component or any secondary.
Right.
It's just like
Yep.
like poo brown.
Okay, so what you're gonna see me do is I'm gonna mix a little bit of perfect brown with it, and then I'm gonna mix a little bit of dye in with it.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna use, not black. I just need a brown. So I'm gonna use, tobacco brown, if I can find it.
Jeff, should I be switching cameras? Are you mixing on camera somewhere?
Yeah, hang on, I gotta go get some brown. Okay,
Oh my god,
okay,
this thing.
you wanna switch the camera?
I'm trying, yeah.
I gotta turn my computer back on.
This thing's being a little bit of a jerk. See if I can find you here.
My computer shut down.
Oh, that's why I can't. That's why I don't see
Yeah,
it.
it shut down. It says battery low. Okay, let's just do this.
Okay. How's your battery on the phone?
Fine. Okay. So I'm just gonna do this. Okay, so I basically have dark mission brown, also known as tobacco brown. And I'm just gonna get a little bit of that in there.
Jeff, can you talk a little bit about why you'd pick the tobacco brown or the dark mission brown?
As a color, I just want a little bit of a dark brown dye in there to give me some depth. Because if I'm doing a really dark touch up on the edge of this, what happens is that if you've ever done a pigment touch up, or if you've ever used pigments, oh God. They tend to go, they don't have that depth and luster.
Yeah, they look a little flat.
They look flat. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, okay, I'm gonna go over here and work my brush a little bit on that tape. You see what I'm doing here?
Yes.
Okay, I want a dry brush, okay, and I'm flicking it. Everybody see that? I'm flicking the brush. I'm flicking color on. You have to learn to do this if you want to do good touch-ups. Flick your colors. Everybody see what I'm doing?
Yes. Did you learn this from Mohawk or Bob Ross? This looks very. This looks
This
like
is a JB Jewitt. Okay. So now I'm gonna just take a little bit of,
Aaron Jones is asking what brush that is. Is that the number 0 brush?
no, that was a number 4. Now look
Okay.
at it.
Yeah.
Everybody see that?
Yep. Burn through alleviated. Jeff, did you pour fill the cocoa bowl on the end there, or
Yep.
was that
Yeah, it's pour filled.
okay?
Yeah, no, wait, no. I'm getting ready for pour fill. What
Okay.
this has is basically a coat of isolante, or
Okay.
what they call isolating sealer, before I use my pour filler, which is
Uh-huh.
called polyester. But I did do an epoxy treatment on it. So I applied some silver tip epoxy to it, just because I did that on the body of the guitar and I want it to look the same. Does everybody know what epoxy pour filling is?
We had Michael Bashkin did a
Excellent demo. Yeah, go back and watch it. It's really good. I like to do it, the epoxy treatment, because I feel that it's a wood stabilization for a lot of these really screwy woods that people like to use today, like, Wenge and Ziricote.
Yeah.
And a lot of the rosewoods, we're just not able to get like perfectly quarter sawn, really good stuff. So I like to do it just as a way of like stabilizing the wood. But I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you on the paper that flicking technique, because that's something that you really need to try and get good at. So you just take your brush, swirl it around, and everybody see, okay, all right, hopefully you can see this, and you're just going like this. Now, that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
And what happens is as the brush dries out, it gives you kind of a I hate to describe it, but kind of like a wash type of effect. It gets lighter and it sort of starts to like almost kind of like you're French polishing the shellac. It smooths it out. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
You're really making contact with the paper though, right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not just flicking.
Yeah.
The other thing that occurs to me too, a lot like detail in the wood, like wood doesn't have these crisp lines to it, like
No, it doesn't.
your line
That's-
has like a
Yep.
dark center and then fades to the outside, and that's
Well, if you notice, what I did a lot, is I crisscross too. There's a lot going on in wood. I mean, and you have your darker grain lines, and then you have sort of your intermediate colors there.
Mhm.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
All right, so basically, but learn to flick your color. All right. I hope that was coffee I just drank. All right,
Was it
any
tobacco?
questions? No, we're all good?
We're all good. Well, I don't want to speak too soon. Tyler Geske, you got any questions?
All right.
Well-
One thing I just want to mention, I'm gonna switch back over here. Oh, that looks good. Okay. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Can everybody see? All right, so this is just denatured alcohol. I'll put the brushes in there for cleanup. All right, then take my rag. Get them clean. And this is what I do. Is I take this Windsor stuff. Everybody see that? I'm looking at the camera, so I really can't see anything.
Yep.
And that's what I use that product for. And just size your brushes with shellac to keep your bristles nice and pointy. So keep your width sharp and your bristles pointy and you'll be good. All right, so basically, that's about all I have.
Cool. We want to take a look at,
I hope, oh, one thing I do want to just mention here. Okay, I'm getting into a low battery situation here on my camera, but
okay.
I think we'll be fine. If you ever have to try and touch up a sunburst, good luck. But basically, I tend to use hopefully if you get sand throughs or something like that, they're towards the edges, which are darker. But that's really where I use those micron pens a lot, particularly around the edges where the purfling is and all that kind of stuff. Sunbursts are very tricky, and that's the one instance where I will break out the airbrush. I generally hate using airbrushes, but that's where you almost have to break out an airbrush. But sunbursts are, that's another course in itself. What I asked Ian if we could do, and I have enough battery left, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the shop. Everybody sort of feel like doing that?
Yes.
Yes,
Dave Slimmer,
absolutely.
Dave Slimmer asked if we can get a list of the pigments. I'll make sure to get the Mohawk.
I'll send a list to Ian, the ones that I have in this box here.
Is that pretty much the straight that kind of blend all starter kit that Mohawk sells, or
Yeah, that's
the green,
perfect.
The
Yeah.
green looks a little different than the green that's in the
Well, that green I have, that is actually called chrome green.
yeah.
That is what I have to use to touch up. I use a lot of turquoise purfling.
Ah,
That's like a dead ringer for it. Let's see, I don't have any right here, but like a lot of times the other touch up I have to do, I don't know if that's in focus or not. But can everybody see I have a purfling line right here?
yep.
Well, a lot of times when I go to install the neck, it doesn't meet the one on a body very well. So I have to move that line. And I can move it this way or I can move it that way a little bit with those colors.
Cool.
Anyways, let me give you a real quick tour of the shop. Because a lot of people kind of are interested in this. This is my spray booth area. Well, this is my spray area. That's my spray booth. I have a DeVilbiss spray booth. I think it's an 8x8x10. I can spray all year round because I have air make. So what that will do, that will bring in warm air. That will bring in air from outside and heat it and dump it down in front of the booth. So that I have a constant flow of air, and I don't when I'm running the booth. Otherwise, I pull in all the dust from the shop, so I have to run that. A couple years ago, I installed a variable, what's called a variable frequency drive. This is 3-phase, so I can change the speed of the fan to just run from full exhaust to just partial exhaust. So when I'm drying and something's really stinky,
So you might go low fan to shoot, and then after it's cured a little
Yep.
bit, but still stinky, you're diming out the fan to get all the
Right.
stink out.
Yep. So this is the finishing area. This is kind of leftover stuff from when I was selling spray equipment, or selling a lot of stuff. These are old AccuSpray parts and stuff like that, if I have any left. This is down here. This is where we manufacture the trans tint. What we do is we buy 55-gallon drums of the solvent, and that's the stuff that I invented, the solvent which it goes into. So we pump that into like 5-gallon buckets. Like here's green waiting to get filled, so I'll pump about 5 gallons in there, and then we come over here and we take the required amount of yellow. These are textile dyes. I'll take yellow, and I'll take like blue, and I'll mix it in and make the green. And we run these like pneumatic mixers, these for all the different colors we make. So basically what I do is I'll come in on the weekend and I'll mix up all these trans tint colors. So these are colors that were just mixed. And after they sit there for a couple weeks and a little bit of sludge and, non-good stuff falls to the bottom, they get put up here where they're dispensed into the 2-ounce bottles or the larger sizes.
Have the
So-
recipes for color changed much over the years? Like I found like an ancient bottle of tobacco brown that I had, and it seemed very different than the modern.
Yeah, it could be. When we first came out with the product, we had a company making it for us. And they kept changing their formulations, their solvent formulation. So one batch I could ship by air, and then the next batch I couldn't ship by air. And it drove Stumac and everybody else crazy. So finally, I think it was about 15 or 20 years ago, I just said, screw it. I'm just going to make all the stuff myself. So now we make everything. We make everything here. We bring in the solvent, we mix it. I lock myself in the shop every weekend and make 15 to 20 gallons of, 100 gallons or so of trans tint.
How
This
are
is
you
the
guys-
bench.
Oh,
So
go
this
ahead.
is an order that's being prepared for Rockler. I have a woman that comes in during the week, and she actually bottles the stuff, labels it, and then fills it and packs it and then ships it out. And she does all that while I do what I want to do, which is building guitars. So this is basically the guitar building room. Here I've got a Wenge rim set awaiting its linings. Sandpaper all over here. That's the big ass bandsaw, the 18 Laguna for resawing. That's
How long have you had that Laguna, Jeff?
about 5 years.
Yeah.
It's- It's a really good resaw. I probably could have done just as well with the 14, but I was in a good buying mood. But for resawing, you need the right blade, which is I use that 3/4 inch carbide tip one that I got from them.
Are those the stock guides on that bandsaw, or did you upgrade the guides?
Nope, these are just the ceramic guides. I didn't know you could upgrade them. What
Well,
do you upgrade them to?
there's a company called Carter that I know makes.
Oh, yeah. Carter
aftermarket
has.
ones.
I like the ceramic ones because they make really neat sparks as you're resawing,
Uh-huh.
and I like that.
You know, I I would like to get, like I've always used the bearings, but like I was just messing with the bearings on my my Grizzly, and I was like, I wonder about those. I wonder about those ceramic guides.
Yeah, the ceramics are fine. They do wear and you have to replace them, but they're real cheap. This is basically just little bits and pieces of wood. I've got a lot of curly maple and Cortison white oak. I've got some Wenge I'm waiting to resaw. I've got some Brazilian back there that
Mhm.
will eventually get resawed. I have 2 buffers. Nah, 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 nah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my original shop fox, which I actually use more than the Stumac, quite frankly. So I have coarse Menzerna here, medium Menzerna, fine, and then super fine.
Mhm.
And I did that basically because I hate changing wheels. This is the table saw. I used to build furniture, so it's set up for big sheets of plywood, but it comes in handy because the part that I don't use now is for doing all my these are my rim assemblies. I do laminated rim assemblies now. So basically I'll take 3 pieces of wood and glue them together over a form, and we put it in a vacuum bag. Here I'm vacuum gluing the cutaway to a Florentine. That's going to sit in there for a couple more minutes. So all this is the new Stumac bender that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, by the way, the Luth Group is going to be giving away one of these on our Christmas party that's being hosted by
I
Stumac.
heartily recommend this.
Yeah.
This adaptable waist call is worth it.
Yeah.
And then plus what I really like is the digital controller,
Hmm.
and you can set the high and low on it. So all you have to do is you just hold the button down and it'll go up and stop at 300, which is my bending temperature. And then once I reach that after 10 minutes, I just hold the button down and I've got the bottom set of it at 225 to cook all the water out. So it's really nice. And I've got it set up now. It's just bending the cutaway insert, this part.
Yeah. Jeff, are you going to make it to the Christmas party?
What Christmas party?
On the 21st Luth Group Christmas party, Dan Earlywine is going to be sliding down a chimney in full Santa Claus
In
outfit.
Athens? Is
Yeah.
it in Athens?
Well, it's on the Zoom call, but yeah, Dan's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
be-
No, yeah, I'll make it on the
Dan's in-
21st. Sure.
Yeah, Dan's in Athens, and
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there via Zoom, but yeah,
Yep.
I'll be there. So anyways, look for this sometime after the first of the year. It's really a good bender.
Yeah.
Really a good bender. I really like it. I just,
This has
like
been
I say, it's,
it's been in development for I think 30 years too. Like,
oh God, yeah. It's, when I first started going down to Stumac,
Wait, were
you
those
know, I mean,
snacks?
that
What do-
was like 25 years ago they were talking about it.
What kind of
anyways.
what kind of snacks you got there? Yeah, it looks really healthy. You got bananas.
Yes, I've got bananas, I've got pita, I've got cachava, which is a superfood. I've got my fiber and spice. Everybody know what this stuff is? You ever seen this stuff? C4?
No, that's an explosive though.
That's a pre-workout. I used to be an endurance cyclist. And that's the stuff we used to take. Man, this stuff is great.
Will that make your quads look like a
Well,
Tyrannosaurus Rex, or-
it really wakes you up and gets your focus going. And then of course
good.
I have like my primal greens, kashi, oatmeal.
Mhm.
Yeah, lots of water.
What is that? Are those
then-
are those snack? Okay, Doritos. Okay.
That's for the help. Okay, so basically going around to the front, this is all wood storage, guitar storage, neck blanks, and these are
Forklift. Are you forklift certified, Jeff?
yeah, well, I use it as a clamping call now. That's how I put the tops on guitars.
Can you
No.
please send me a picture of you doing that? I need to see that.
Well, TJ Thompson and I at one point had this kind of one-upmanship type of thing going. I showed him my 3-phase converter, and then he would show me the one he installed, and then I would show him a bandsaw blade or something that I got. He showed me the bandsaw blade welder that he just bought to make his own bandsaw blades.
Oh boy, that's where it is.
I scored a dental light from my dentist.
Oh yeah.
I was going to install it, but it requires like an 18-volt transformer. It's not like 120 here, so I can't use it. Well, I can use it, but I got to. Anyways, so this is basically all guitar space now. That's all wood and stuff. We have warehouse up here. We have 5,000 square feet upstairs and about 7,000 square feet down here. So we got lots of space. It makes everybody crazy that everybody comes in here. These are guitars that are in stages of being built. These are all commission guitars. Well, I shouldn't say commission guitars. There's one for Eddie's here. There's one that's for one of the shows next year. Then I got Matt Thomas making another one for him. This is the shipping area.
Shipping and receiving, or just
Shipping and
shipping?
receiving. And then this is the office, which is where all the fun stuff takes place.
Yeah.
And this is where all the guitars are. So that's the
Got
bridge.
you, got you like a place to take pictures of your guitars.
Yep, that's the bridge I took off. It was fish glue. It was on with fish glue, but I did not put it back on with fish glue.
What'd you use? Because you were talking about putting it back on with fish glue.
Yeah, I was, but I switched. I used my Lee Valley aliphatic glue. I just cleaned and sanded it real well and made sure it absorbed water, and then I glued it on with,
Cool.
hide glue or whatever you want to call it. I like hide glue, but I don't know. My ability to work quickly with that stuff in winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
hide glue is no joke on the bridge. The good news is though, if you miss, it'll let you know immediately, and then you just pop it off and then try again. But
yeah, you can try it again. Yeah. But so these are guitars that are, I have a guy coming up Tuesday to pick that guitar up, and he wanted to play a couple more. So hopefully he'll buy another one.
cool.
That's my Gerber case rack. For those of you that don't know, my friend Ryan Gerber makes this really nifty case
Look
rack.
at that.
You can store like about 10 guitars, and it really it's a huge space saver.
Whole total space saver. What's a fellow got to dish out to get a rack like that?
Yeah,
Retail.
they're a little bit pricey. I
That's
think
all right.
they're about $900.
That's
or
not
so.
bad.
No, but it's all like knockdown furniture type of construction. So he ships it in one big flat thing, and it takes about 30 minutes to put together. But Ryan Gerber is it's called the Case Place.
Okay.
He's a very, very talented luthier, and he's about 45 minutes away.
Pretty good rhyme too.
Yeah. So got the dehumidifiers going. I mean the humidifiers going. This is my area here.
Got some literature back there.
Yep. Lots of literature. And let's see, what else did I want to show you? I think that was it. Not much. It's a big place. It's, oh God.
You ever think about putting a half pipe in there?
A what?
Half pipe? Do a little skateboarding?
Oh God, no. I used to ride my bike here to work every day and ride home. It's 20 miles each way. I did that for about 20 years. But I can't do that anymore.
I rode a bike for transportation for a long time too.
Yeah. So
There's nothing like it.
that's basically the guided tour. I hope everybody
thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, my battery now is at 10%. So I
Okay.
probably have to take off here.
Yeah,
But I hope you learn something,
Oh,
mostly just it's just, it's just getting the right materials, and then just kind of like my advice to people really is don't overwork your touch up. They can get out of hand really easy. Less is more typically.
Yeah.
You know where it is, but most people don't.
Oh boy, the amount of rabbit holes I've gone down, Jeff. I don't know. I
Well,
can't
we've
even
all done it.
describe the pits of shame that I've dug for myself.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, but everybody, if I don't see you again, have a Merry
Hey, oh.
Christmas.
Before you go, everybody unmute and give Jeff a hearty round of applause and a thank you and all that kind of good stuff. for
Thanks,
taking the
Jeff.
time.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Jeff.
Thank you,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff,
Thank you, Jeff.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good
And
stuff.
Another
Jeff.
another awesome one, Jeff.
How'd I
thank you
do,
so much.
Doug?
Perfect. I was glued to
Sharon,
my
I'm
seat
good?
the whole time.
Not enough shellac talk, Doug says. You gotta talk a little.
Shellac is shellac.
Well,
Well, but what I've got in the booth there is I'm trying to do one of those crack-a-lacquer finishes using that non-plasticized lacquer.
Hmm.
It's for the baseball player. I hope I can pull it off because that's what he wanted.
all right.
So, all right. Cheers.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.
Jeff.